This is a giant waste of time in the sense that the entire interview is designed for you to shout slogans or old things that I've said at me. I don't see how this forwards the debate. You talk about undermining the public discourse. It seems to me that simply going through and finding lone things that sound bad out of context and then hitting people with them is a way for you to make a quick buck on BBC off the fact that I'm popular and no one has ever heard of you.
The last couple of videos I've done is a series I've been doing called Why People Love to Hate. So the last one I did was on Jordan Peterson, and to say that kind of blew up a little bit is an understatement. It actually got a couple of thousand views, which I'm very happy with, and it was very interesting to hear people's different opinions. I pissed off some people that didn't certainly agree with what I had to say about Jordan Peterson, but I appreciate everyone that watched. I appreciated everyone's opinions, and it was really interesting to see kind of different perspectives on it. That's kind of what I aim with these videos. I want people to comment, and I want people to debate with me, tell me why they think I'm wrong, because that's the whole point. Otherwise, what's the point in giving an opinion if you're not willing to listen to other opinions? So, that being said, one person I mentioned in the video, very briefly in the video, Jordan Peterson video, was about Ben Shapiro. And there were some people that didn't like what I had to say about it. So I figured, why not do a whole video on Ben Shapiro? So in today's video, we are going to be looking at why people love to hate Ben Shapiro. For those of you who don't know who Ben Shapiro is an American conservative political commentator, media host, and co-creator of the right-wing media company by the name of The Daily Wire. The most popular of these shows produced by The Daily Wire would be The Ben Shapiro Show, which is a political daily podcast that Ben updates his fans and his followers about his opinion and his viewpoints on certain topics that are going on. Now, he doesn't just do politics, he'll also do kind of popular culture and other wacky stuff that's going on.
Here are some of the lyrics. You ready? Whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. There's some whores in this house. Hold up. I said certified freak 7 days a week. Wet ass P-word.
So the thing about Ben is he's very smooth talking, he's very fast paced talker, but he's also dressed very well, he's also very articulate, kind of like Jordan Peterson. It's clear that he has some intellect and he puts some thought in what he says, even if some of the things he says I don't personally agree with, but he basically uses intellect with a mixture of nuance to kind of fight his way around the kind of some of the extreme left political ideas, and he's not afraid to kind of speak out against that, like Jordan Peterson. And most people, if they haven't seen who Ben is, they would know him from the kind of compilation videos. There's thousands of them on YouTube where Ben Shapiro owns, left-wing trans woman or whatever, and it shows like he's outwitting certain groups of minorities on the extreme left. And some of these videos are entertaining, I won't lie, I've watched some of them.
The argument that you're making, and I'm going to close with this because this is going in weird directions and I don't really want to...
No, it's not
I don't really want to get... Just hold up a second. I let you get out your arguments, and now it's time for me to respond, because I let you say the full argument.
I'll let you respond, but...
No, not but. Now's my turn.
You are not characterizing what I'm saying accurately.
Now it's my turn. Your definition is inaccurate. The reason your definition is inaccurate is because any sentient human being would acknowledge that history has consequences.
Right.
But if the idea is, but that's not what wokeism is. Wokeism is a different thing. Wokeism suggests that all inequalities of today are attributable to not only historic injustices, but also continuing injustices in the now, and that all disparity is attributable to discrimination. Not just that.
One of the things I would agree with Ben on is the huge amount of kind of language control and censorship and trying to not offend anyone. I don't agree with any of that. People would know if they saw my other videos on Peterson and Joe Rogan. We would be on the same page with that. But I do want to talk about some of the things that I don't agree with Ben. And these are some of the controversies that have caused him issues over the years. Now, he's very much the type of person that stands by his opinion, and he does put a lot of thought into his opinion, so you can appreciate that he doesn't just form opinions out of nothing like some people like to do, or he doesn't attach his opinion to someone else without really having his own opinion. Let's talk about some of the things that have caused Ben some issues. So one of the biggest controversies with Ben Shapiro, and surprisingly when I mentioned Ben Shapiro in the last video, I got some people commenting saying that I was misunderstanding what his beliefs was and he wasn't homophobic, blah blah blah. And if you haven't seen that video, I'll leave a link in my description. The biggest issue I have with Ben Shapiro, and there's a few, but the biggest issue I have with him is that his take on the LGBTQ community is just so outdated and unnecessary.
This to a gay man, they will tell you, imagine Ben Shapiro, if someone said to you, you should stop being with your beautiful wife and you need to now marry a man because this is what God wants you to do. So you're going to have to shtup this man, and he's going to shtup you. And because this is how the rules are set up.
Yeah, so far this
But
sounds pretty terrible. Sure.
Right. Well, this is how it sounds to gay folks when you're telling them they have to find a woman. They're like, I like
well,
dudes.
I'm not saying you have to find a woman. I'm saying
But
you
that's
can't. Well, I'm saying you can't do X, right? I'm not saying you must
but
find
say
a woman. But
can't. But by whose determination?
if you decide to participate in this religion,
Right.
then there is a buy-in to the precepts of the religion.
And the buy-in is
The buy-in
you
is
can't
that-
be gay.
Well, no, the buy-in is that you can have whatever sexual orientation you please, but there's certain activity you can't participate in.
So you can be gay, but you can't have gay sex.
Correct. That's that. By the way, that's what the Bible. I mean, if we want to go direct to the text of
Right.
the Bible, it's what the Bible actually says, right? I
He
mean,
sprouts this kind of nonsense. And don't get me wrong, like, I don't think he's a homophobic in the sense of the traditional sense of like being disgusted by gay people or hating gay people and not want to be near gay people. Ben Shapiro has friends that are gay. He respects gay people. He doesn't expect people to live whatever way he thinks. He just kind of shares his own beliefs.
I'm not trying to convert you. This is one of the nice things about my religion. I don't give a crap whether people are Jewish or not. Like, we actively discourage converts. But if you're going to proclaim that you are, abiding by traditional Judaism, this is the buy-in, right? There's lots of buy-in. You have to wear a funny hat sometimes. You have to go to shul on Saturdays. You have to keep Shabbat. Like, there's a lot of buy-in. And as long as I'm not bothering anybody else, I frankly don't see what business it is of legitimately anybody's what I think about personal relationships. I'm not imposing my view on anybody else.
He doesn't argue that people should join his faith and follow the rules. He just gives his perspective, and I get frustrated with the perspective that he uses because I think it's an easy kind of like religious get out of jail free card. Oh, this is my religious belief, so this is how I believe. And if you have an opinion against my religious belief, then you're anti-religion or whatever. He uses the Judeo-Christianity belief that if you're gay and you have urges, it is seen as a sin, and it's something that is seen that needs to be managed. It's not something that should be acted on. He argues that being gay, you don't have to identify with the sexual urges you have or act on them.
For the vast majority of people, I would assume that they have a biological drive to engage in that behavior. But the traditional sort of will point of view is that biological drive does not necessarily match up to the activity you ought to engage in. Right? Men, for example, have a biological drive to impregnate many women. That's not something religion is cool with either.
Now, to be fair, I'm a straight man, I'm attracted to women, so to tell me I can't talk to women or be attracted to women is going against my own biology, and the same rule applies to women. The idea that in the Christian Judeo faith is that you can't have sex, obviously, with men. It's seen as a sin that needs to be managed. You should suppress those feelings, that it's against what is written in the Bible, so that's the way it should be. Now, just to point out as well, in the Bible, like, it says something like men shall not lay with men. That could literally mean anything. Like, that is not enough information about a book that was written 2,000 years ago. Now, like, this isn't about me just slating on religion. Like, everyone's entitled to believe what they want to believe, and I totally respect people's belief systems. Me, myself, I am not a religious person, which I suppose most people won't be shocked by, but I do not like the argument that my religion says this shouldn't be like this, so it makes it okay for me to think like this. The gay people don't have the choice in terms of being gay. It's not something you have any control over, and it's very ridiculous to expect people to ignore what is naturally how they feel, something they were born with. You don't just suddenly turn gay, and most people who think you can are people that, were always gay and homophobic at the same time. It shouldn't be that controversial to say that I don't agree with Ben Shapiro on this. I believe that gay people, whether you're lesbian, bisexual, whatever you are, as long as you're not hurting yourself or others, go be free, be happy. Life is short, you only live it once. You do whatever makes you happy. Don't listen to any sort of religious bullshit that's going to stop you from living your life. Because there's no promises up there, baby. I don't mean any disrespect to any religious people. You are entitled to believe what you want, but at the same time, you can't expect people to live the way you expect them to live, and if they don't and you don't like it, then to you. In fairness to Ben, he doesn't force his opinion on people. He doesn't expect people to follow his rules. He just gives his perspective through mostly a religious point of view.
Whenever I talk about my moral perspective on things, then people immediately assume that I'm a theocratic fascist, and I just want to keep underscoring,
Yes,
my
thank
personal
you.
views on Dave Rubin's marriage are of no consequence to public policy in any way whatsoever.
That is what he's taught in the Bible. That is what he goes by. I mean, if that's what he believes in, he's entitled to do that. But it's hard to label him homophobic because he's not saying that he has any issue with gay people. He's just saying they shouldn't act on it. So I'm not sure what label you could use, but obviously he's not very tolerant of gay people in the sense that he doesn't think that it should be taught in schools, which he thinks the government shouldn't be involved with teaching his children about homosexuality, even though homosexuality is a normal part of life. You know, we all see it around us. They're totally entitled to be part of our society, as they should.
There is something different about a woman than there is about a man, and a man is made better through his union with a woman. And that if you pervert the sex drive to pursue mere pleasure instead of a lasting relationship upon which the basis of society is built, then you are foregoing the proper use of your sex drive.
And trying to shun kids away from the evils of homosexuality is just ridiculous. He's also against same-sex marriage. He basically believes that children should be reared in the traditional mother and father dynamic, and that if you are gay, you should get with a woman and have children with the woman, even if it's not something you want.
If a man is gay, in your religion,
Yes.
if a man is gay and they're in love with another man, they should just squash those thoughts and find a woman.
Well, ideally, they would be honest with the woman they marry, so they're not like messing up the woman.
But they would want to go and get a
ideally,
woman.
you would still get married and have children in a heterosexual relationship. If you're not up to that, then you wouldn't get married at all.
As long as the wife knows you're gay, it's fine. It's totally fine. And one thing I will say in Ben Shapiro's defense, he believes homosexuality is a sin. He also thinks other things are a sin, like eating pork. He also thinks having sex before marriage is a sin. But he does believe that people should have the right to do them if they want to. He's not about oppressing people and stopping people from doing it, but he doesn't agree with it. I think that, that gives him, I can give him some for that. He's not ever trying to force people to live the way he wants. Do I think he's a homophobe? No, I don't know what label to use, but I don't agree with his religious perspective on it. But he's entitled to his opinion, and he certainly loves to share it, just like I do, which he's entitled to do. But saying he's homophobic, I think, possibly is a bit too lazy of a term, but he's certainly not tolerant, or as tolerant as I believe he should be.
What convinced you ultimately to become pro-life yourself?
So it really began with science for me. So I'm a religious Jew. Religious Jews are pro-life. So from a biblical standpoint, the support for the pro-life position is pretty strong, but it really is science that I find to be the best argument and the most convincing argument. And as you see 3D and 4D ultrasounds, as you see the development of a child in the womb, as you realize that every argument against the pro-life position is based on false premises that could be applied to fully grown adults, then you begin to see that either the line is drawn with conception or isn't drawn at all.
I don't have an issue with people that are pro-life. I understand from their perspective, if they believe that conception, that is a living thing, to them it's a horrific thing to do, to take babies away. The argument of conception, when does something become a living thing, even science isn't fully, I don't think, deciding on that. But me, myself, personally, I think I should to mention I'm pro-choice. I think the woman should have a right to choose. Kids are a huge investment and a huge time, and if it's something you're not physically invested in and something you can't support financially, I don't think it's something you should force yourself to be put through. But the thing about Ben Shapiro and his perspective on abortion, the only time he is actually in favour of abortion if the woman is at risk. He supports banning abortion that actually just recently happened, and he was very happy about that, as this tweet would say. But he would also argue that, even in cases of rape and incest, the baby should be born. To me, that is insanity.
To answer specifically on rape and incest, here is my basic answer. Rapists should be castrated or killed. You shouldn't kill babies. End of story.
He also thinks that doctors who perform abortions should be prosecuted. So you're telling me that if someone gets raped and they get pregnant with the rapist baby, they're supposed to keep the baby? With all due respect, fuck that. Why the fuck would you want to do that? How can the mother actually love the child? So the mother has to carry the child to term and then raise the child. Now you could say, oh, you can adopt, you can go for adoption or whatever. But that is I don't, again, down to religious beliefs, as per usual, good old Ben, he doesn't agree with it because his Bible tells him not to. I don't understand why it's an issue. Again, it's kind of like the LGBT community kind of issues he has. Abortion, it's a right that we have in Ireland, and he also refers to women who have abortions as baby killers. He obviously looks at it as from a religious point of view, but he also looks at it obviously from an emotional point of view. He believes that conception is when a baby exists when a human is a human being. So he believes that you are killing away life.
Look, you got to choose a lot of things in life. You don't get to choose another human being's death. That's not something you get to choose. So when is it okay to kill this? When is it okay to kill this? Is it okay to kill this thing at week 14? When the heart is pumping several quarts of blood through the body every day?
I can understand why that would be emotional for him, but the idea that the only time you can get an abortion is in cases where the mother is going to either kill herself or is at risk from dying from the pregnancy. It doesn't matter if you get raped, it doesn't matter if it's incest. As long as you're healthy physically and mentally, you should have a baby. He's entitled to this opinion. I do not agree with this opinion, clearly. And you're not going to convince me otherwise, but you know, I think, like I said, if you know, I don't think I should be deciding what a woman does with her own body. I think that's an important point to make as well. It's her body. I wouldn't want someone making a decision on my body. And I don't understand, like I said about the gay community, I don't understand why Shapiro cares so much about something that doesn't affect him. It's not his wife that is having abortions. So why does it matter to him? Let people live their lives, Ben. What is wrong with people wanting to live their lives, Ben? You're making it hard for me, Ben. I'm trying to agree with you here on certain things, Ben, but then things keep cropping up here and I'm like, oh, and people are going to be like, oh, you just hate Ben Shapiro. I don't hate Ben Shapiro, but he's making it hard. Ben, you're making it hard for me, okay? You're making it hard. Now, you might think right-wing conservative doesn't like gays, but he must love Donald Trump. But the fact of the matter is, while researching about Ben Shapiro, I assumed that he would have liked Donald Trump in some form. But it turns out he's actually not a big fan of Donald Trump. And I think one of the things that the left can agree with when it comes to Ben Shapiro is he's not afraid of disagreeing with Trump like a lot of the majority of the right-wing media, we should say. I won't talk for all right-wingers in America, but a lot of the right-wing media seem to love Trump, especially now with the whole thing going on with the records and his house getting search warrant for and all that kind of stuff.
You are a supporter of his, aren't you?
No.
You're not?
No.
Well, being with Breitbart News, I would have thought that you would be an ardent
That's
supporter.
one of the reasons I quit, yeah.
They are supporters, aren't they?
Oh, well, they are not only supporters, they are Trump Pravda. They're basically the official outlet for the Trump campaign. So
you are a conservative who is troubled.
Yes, deeply troubled. I mean, the reason I left Breitbart in the first place back in March was because of the Michelle Fields incident when Breitbart essentially decided that it was more important to kiss up to Donald Trump than it was to defend their own reporter. So,
who did you support in the primaries?
At Cruz.
That's just one example of kind of Shapiro's perspective on Trump. It's nice to see that there's a right-wing conservative out there who has a voice, who seems to actually not fully agree with Trump on everything. Unlike a lot of the other people like on Fox News, like Tucker Carlson and anyone on Fox News basically, that will literally like do anything to keep Trump happy and completely just want to support him no matter what. So it's nice that there is someone on that side of the spectrum that actually is like willing to stand up against Trump. I'm sure there's some Americans watching this being like, this fucking moron doesn't know what he's talking about. So you might be thinking now at this point that you probably think I don't like Ben Shapiro, but as you would remember, this video is called Why People Love to Hate Ben Shapiro. And as always, I give my opinion towards Ben Shapiro, just like I did with the other videos. I do not hate Ben Shapiro. I do not have any sort of personal gripe against him, as some people might suggest after watching this. I do think that he's entitled to his opinions. I do think he's a very intelligent person. I do think he does really sit down and think about the things he says, and he's very careful with the words he uses. I admire the fact that he's willing to stand up and say his piece and go against the grain and say things that will piss people off, just kind of like I do on my YouTube channel. But he does it with a much bigger audience. There's so much to talk about, so they were kind of like the main things that I researched, that I looked at about him, that are the most commonly thought of things when it comes to Ben Shapiro that most people think of. Would be his stance on abortion, the gay community, and Trump. They're kind of the things that, you know, that most people would know about him, and I just want to, you know, give my opinion. So like always, I very much appreciate everyone taking the time to sit and watch this video, and to all the 2,500 people that watched my last video, if you came back, thanks for coming back. And I hope like I said in the last video, you know, it's just my own personal opinion about the guy. You know, don't be offended if my opinion isn't your opinion. That's okay. You can let me know in the comments. As always, I like to have a happy, healthy debate about things. You can tell me why I'm wrong, I can tell you why you're wrong, we can find middle ground. That's All I want for these videos is to have a common ground and to discuss things that we don't agree with, so we can come to a conclusion that might help us. So that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone that subscribes and likes the videos. And please do like and share if you do like this kind of stuff. And please feel free to leave a comment below and let me know your opinion on Shapiro, what you think I got right, what you think I got wrong. And as always, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.